Welcome to Story Haven. Before we embark on this narrative journey, allow me to pose a few questions. Have you ever been the unwavering pillar of strength for everyone around you, only to find profound emptiness when you finally needed support yourself? Have you poured out so much love, invested so much time, and offered endless care, that you woke up one day to realize your own well was dry? If these specific questions resonate deeply within your spirit, please remain with us, for this tale might very well feel as if it were penned explicitly for the pages of your own life. In a time long past, nestled beyond the sweeping panorama of rolling hills and beneath skies that framed endless fields of golden wheat, lay a quiet, unassuming countryside village known as Lunara. Life there unfolded at a leisurely, uncomplicated pace. Its inhabitants knew each other intimately, greeting neighbors by name, regularly sharing their meals, and holding the firm conviction that kindness was the most valuable asset a person could possess. Within the heart of this gentle village lived a man named Samuel. Samuel possessed no great fortune, wielded no power, and sought no fame. He owned no plot of land and resided in a modest, deteriorating cottage perched near the village boundary. Yet, his presence was universally recognized. He earned his reputation as the one individual who would never refuse a request from anyone in distress. If a farmer's heavily loaded cart broke down mid-journey, Samuel was invariably the one who appeared to repair it. If a violent storm devastated a family's harvest, Samuel generously shared his meager grain stores without hesitation. Should anyone fall gravely ill, Samuel would dedicatedly remain at their side throughout the night, holding vigil until the first light of dawn. The villagers often remarked with sincerity, Samuel's constant devotion is the very foundation upon which the unity of this village rests. But tragically, what remained invisible to everyone else was the profound, silent weight that Samuel constantly carried within his own soul. Each morning, well before the sun crested the surrounding hills, Samuel was roused by the crisp sound of the wind sweeping softly through the vast fields. Before allowing himself a single bite of food, he would transport heavy firewood to Grandmother Ellen, an elderly woman who resided alone near the shadowy forest line. Following this chore, he tirelessly repaired broken fences, mended worn-out tools, and labored for grueling hours under the relentless, burning sun. By the time twilight finally descended, his entire body felt utterly depleted, and his hands often trembled violently from sheer fatigue. When Samuel finally made the long trek back to his own dwelling, he was consistently met only by silence. His little cottage was undeniably falling into neglect. The roof leaked persistently with every rainfall. The walls were marred by large cracks and felt perpetually cold. The aged wooden floorboards groaned audibly beneath his heavy, exhausted steps. He would sink into a chair, briefly close his eyes, and softly promise himself, "I will certainly fix all this tomorrow." Yet, without fail, tomorrow always seemed to belong entirely to the needs of someone else. One particularly ominous evening, dark, turbulent clouds gathered swiftly overhead, and a heavy rain began to lash down. A terrified young man sprinted through the center of the village, sheer panic etched across his features. "Samuel," he shouted. "My mother has collapsed out in the field. Please, we desperately need your help." Without a second's hesitation, Samuel plunged directly into the heart of the storm. He painstakingly carried the woman through the thick, sucking mud, step by slow step, until he had brought her safely indoors. The relieved villagers showered him with lavish praise and profound thanks, hailing him as an undeniable hero. But later that night, as Samuel began his lonely walk back to his own home, an unsettling sensation washed over him. A suffocating tightness gripped his chest. His breath became ragged and shallow. The very world started to tilt and swim around him. Just as he reached his dilapidated door, his strength vanished completely, his legs buckled, and he crumpled onto the cold ground. For 2 agonizing days, Samuel lay prone inside his crumbling cottage, weak, feverish, and utterly alone. He waited, his gaze fixed on the familiar, cracked ceiling above him. Surely, he thought, someone would realize his absence and come. Surely, someone would knock urgently on his door. But no one ever came. Every single villager simply assumed Samuel was busy assisting another person, just as he always was. With tears silently seeping into his hair and onto the rough wooden floor, he weakly whispered, "I dedicated all my strength to everyone else, but no one saw fit to save any for me." His spirit shattered in that moment, not with a loud, dramatic sound, but in a deep, profoundly silent way that resonated through his core. On the third day of his ordeal, a thoughtful, wandering teacher happened to be passing through Lunara. He noticed the strangely open door and the absolute stillness inside the small cottage. When he discovered Samuel lying there, pale and violently trembling, he immediately knelt beside him and offered restorative water. With a compassionate, gentle voice, he inquired, "My son, why do you endure this suffering in solitude?" Samuel managed a faint, weak smile and replied, "Because I have spent my entire existence carrying the burdens of others, and I completely forgot the necessary act of carrying myself." The teacher paused, reflecting on this painful truth, then spoke softly, "You cannot realistically offer shelter to others from a violent storm if your own roof has utterly collapsed. Kindness that lacks boundary and balance ultimately becomes a dangerous form of self-destruction. Love that willfully neglects the self inevitably transforms into deep, internal pain." These profound words pierced through Samuel's despair and sank deeply into his waiting heart. When the blessed morning arrived, Samuel managed to rise slowly to his feet. His body was still painfully frail, but something fundamental inside his spirit had definitively changed. For the first time in his entire life, he consciously chose to prioritize himself, and he did so without any accompanying feeling of guilt. He meticulously repaired his leaking roof, scrubbed and cleaned his neglected cottage, and finally fixed all the essential things that had long been ignored. He planted vibrant herbs and small, cheerful flowers outside his window. Every evening thereafter, he would sit peacefully beneath the shade of an old, wise oak tree, watching the sky transition through its magnificent evening colors, a simple pleasure he had never before permitted himself the time to enjoy. The other villagers soon began to notice the shift. "Samuel has truly changed," they whispered amongst themselves. When questioned about this transformation, Samuel simply offered a serene smile and stated, "I remain a kind man. I am simply no longer empty within myself." When villagers subsequently approached him seeking assistance, Samuel did not automatically assent every time. Sometimes he clearly stated, "I can help tomorrow. Today, I truly need to rest." Initially, the people were bewildered and sometimes even openly disappointed by his refusal. But slowly, they began to grasp the new reality. Samuel appeared visibly healthier, significantly calmer, and radiating a greater sense of peace. He remained a truly generous man, but he was no longer depleted and broken. One afternoon, Grandmother Ellen paid him a visit and remarked gently, "Samuel, you have imparted a truly precious lesson to all of us. We mistakenly believed that goodness meant giving everything until absolutely nothing remained. Now, we understand that it also mandates deep, personal self-care." Samuel thoughtfully replied, "When we learn to honor our own needs, our inherent kindness becomes infinitely stronger, rather than diminished." From that pivotal day forward, the spirit of the village of Lunara began its slow, positive evolution. People continued their tradition of helping one another, but they also learned the critical importance of resting, healing, and consciously protecting their own delicate hearts. The entire village became a more genuinely gentle and peaceful place than it had ever been. As the sun finally dipped below the horizon beyond the expansive fields one tranquil evening, Samuel sat comfortably beneath the great oak tree and whispered a profound truth: caring for yourself first is not an act of selfishness. It is, in fact, the essential foundation upon which all real love must be built. Always remember this crucial truth. You possess no power to heal the world around you if you are inwardly bleeding out. You cannot possibly pour genuine love from a heart that has been entirely emptied. Make sure you consciously take time to rest. Take time to properly heal. Take time to love and honor yourself without an ounce of shame, because the world desperately requires your unique, bright light, not the shadow of your total exhaustion. Thank you for choosing to spend this valuable time here with Story Haven. If this narrative resonated deeply with your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone you know who consistently gives too much, and subscribe to Story Haven for more content. Goodbye for now, and until the next story that brings healing to the soul.